Well, welcome back to the show. We're now joined by the East Kent Mavericks and by Coach Glenn Lindley. Coach, thanks very much for joining us on the show here.
That's fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Let me just start with a congratulations, first of all, from this weekend past. You had a visit down to Sussex to face the Thunder. First time you've played them this season. Can you tell us a little bit about the game and how it went from your end?
Yeah, it was obviously a huge game for us. First time, I think, the club was formed 7 years ago. We've played Sussex 4 or 5 times now. They were actually one of our qualifying games to enter the league initially, and they kind of gave us a pretty good thrashing back then. We went into this one as the underdogs. I think within our camp there was a lot of confidence. We know we've got sort of a very sort of high scoring offence. We knew we were going to put points on them, but to be honest, we expected them to score on us as well. So we was expecting a bit of a shootout. I think the game started real fast for us. We knew we had to sort of come out scoring, and we put 7 on the board in our first drive. Sussex kind of retaliated pretty quick to bring it to 7-6, but then I suppose from the second half onwards, I think the team started the second half with a completely different mentality. All of us were we knew we were playing Sussex, we knew they were a big team. It was, okay, damage limitation, we're missing a lot of players, let's keep it respectable almost. And as the game kind of progressed, you could see suddenly people were starting to think, hey, we're winning this, and yeah, we can move the ball pretty much how we want to right now. So confidence will continue to grow, even when they brought it back to 20 all, sort of third quarter, start of the fourth. We still kind of thought, actually, yeah, as long as we can keep our offense on the field, we're going to keep scoring. So it was probably one of the best performances I think I've seen from the team. Everything sort of really clicked for us. And yes, Sussex are known for big offensive and defensive lines. They're probably the hardest hitting team we've ever played. So to get through the game and come out with a win like that, yeah, fantastic for the whole team.
Yes, and looking at your scores throughout the season so far, you've had 3 wins and 1 loss away to Cambridgeshire. But looking at the scores, you have been able to put up a lot of points on the board yourself. So you must be happy, at least from an offensive point of view, to be able to get points on the board and get those big scores.
Yeah, definitely. We run a spread offence. Coaches put a lot of work into building the system we run, and we're blessed with some great athletes on the team as well. So we're pretty confident that we can put sort of big scores on pretty much any team. As you mentioned, the only loss we've had was the Cambridge game away. Unfortunately, that was I don't want to say bad scheduling, because I just didn't realise the effect the Saturday game would have on the team, and we went up there with just over half the squad due to work commitments and study commitments. But yeah, I think we had a 35, a 34, and a 42 points. I think we've put on the 3 teams that we've beaten so far. We break our offense down between the 2 coaches. I'm the head coach, but also run the run game and work with the O-line and running backs. And Coach Tim Palmer, he kind of leads. Well, he designed the entire pass offense, and I think he's averaging probably around 300 passing yards a game in the 3 games we've won so far. So we're pretty proud of what he's done with the pass game as well.
Yes, and as I understand it, there's some international research that has gone into developing your team to try and make you better for this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it started. Myself, Coach Tim and Coach Dave, we were all players last year, and the Mavericks, we'd had 2 or 3 coaches that have been with us for several years, and they all kind of retired, and one moved on to another team in the last year. So when the 3 of us took over, we kind of had a blank canvas, started from scratch. We looked at what players we had and figured out that, the system we wanted to run, we knew we were going to run with a spread offense, just looking at the QBs and the big receivers we had out there. So with that in mind, I kind of went out to Texas and spent some time, spent a week with Baylor, got to spend a day with RG3 and Kendall Wright at their pro day, and spent a couple of days just sort of sitting in on training sessions. Then went sort of across Texas and spent a couple of days at Texas A&M working with Cliff Kingsbury, and she was kind of good enough to let us sort of spend time on classroom sessions and help us install our screen packages as well. So yeah, that was a fantastic opportunity. We learned sort of more in sort of 2 hours, 3 hours sitting in the classroom with Cliff than I kind of learned from 5-6 years of just having a couple of hours on a Sunday with a coach myself. So little bits like that were a huge boost. Coach Tim, as I said, runs the pass offense. He's just a sort of a scholar of the game. He goes home every night, spends 2-3 hours just watching film, researching, and sort of studying not only what we're going to do, but obviously what opponents do and best ways of beating their coverages.
It's always great to be able to have a coaching staff like that are so passionate about their positions that they can go home and study and look at not just their own teams but how other teams are doing around them, and try and learn from their opponents. And now that you've had a chance to see the other teams in your conference in action, what do you make of the conference this year? Do you think it's quite open and competitive?
Yeah, it's very competitive. We started the season, we looked at the schedule, we knew the Exiles, and we'd played Essex a few years ago. We looked at Div 1 South, and we in all honesty, everyone wants to say we're going to win every game, but we were looking at a 7-3, 8-2 season. We're now sort of pretty confident looking at 9-1 and thinking we should be going 10-0, but unfortunately it's a bit late for that one. But yeah, it's a very well balanced division, I'd say. Obviously, there's teams like Essex and Kent have just been promoted. Kent has obviously played Div 1 football before, but I think every team in the division has got a win now, so it's very open, and I think there's definitely going to be a fight between 4 or 5 teams for the playoff spots. And the other 3 or 4 teams are all capable of winning as well. So it's going to be sort of fights to see who goes down and who enters the playoffs. But it's a very well balanced division.
Yeah, and you're sitting just in second place, joint top, in fact, just been behind the Renegades. And your next game is going to be visiting the Spartans away. You've got a week off though in between. So what are you going to be doing with the guys to ensure that you're ready to take your success from last week and try and bring it into another win?
For the Spartans game, we've scouted the Spartans pretty well. We've had a look exactly. We know what they're doing. We've got a lot of respect for them. They're a very sort of hard-nosed, hard-hitting team. Again, we're pretty confident we're going into it knowing that we can score a lot of points. The main focus for us is going to be, I don't want to say rebuilding our defence, but we've picked up quite a few injuries on defence. We lost another 2 D linemen against Sussex, and our entire starting linebacker corps away for another 2 weeks, unfortunately. So I think Coach Dave will be looking to get a couple of the rookies up to speed, as well as maybe move a few players around. And we've got to rebuild the linebacking corps and make a few movements just to make the defensive line, make sure they're up to speed and they're ready to stop the Spartans as well.
Great. Well, good luck for that game, and thanks for joining us here on Gridiron TV. It's always great to hear from more teams around the country, and hopefully you can continue towards your goal of having that 9-1 season, and we'll try and catch up with you at some point later in the season to see how it's going.
Yeah, brilliant. I look forward to it.